sat with him and connected with him and all this stuff. And then I was talking to him about it. And he was like, I don't like not doing this stuff. I don't like how hard it is. I don't want it to be this way. And it's really interesting from a PDA perspective. That's what we often see through the research when they talk to these teenagers or adults that have gone through that. They're like, no, I wanted to do those things. I just couldn't because I was so anxious about it. So it's an interesting thing to think about. Yeah, it's this fear. And they will often compensate with what really derogatory language talks about in the clinical literature of social manipulation, but that's not what it truly is. What they talk about is they'll often divert attention, like use jokes, use compliments to get around what the demand is, which like infuriates the parent or the teacher because they're like, just do what I told you to do. Often unintentionally, we make it worse by things like rewards and punishments, but that's really for these kids just an increased demand that you're placing on them. Is you also need to meet this need of like, you'll get the reward if you do it, and it places more pressure on them and they lose autonomy, so they lose sense of choice. They'll often really interestingly be quite good socially at a superficial level but struggle with any depth, and they'll often compensate for that by being in like leaning into imaginary play, for example, because they're like, I can become this thing, I can use this scaffolded imaginary play to compensate for the fact that I actually struggle socially. And so that feeds their anxiety as well. We'll talk a lot about what we do about it because we got asked about PDA so much.